Okay, Lightworkers, today's conversation is for everybody who is amazing once they get in the room, but maybe gets a little twitchy once it's time to open the door. Because let me tell you something. I have built a whole lot of my business life through warm leads. You know, real relationships, real resonance, real people who already had some level of trust or at least some connection point. Cold leads, Lightworker, that's a different assignment. And I know I am not the only one. A lot of Lightworkers are deeply gifted at what they do, but when it comes to LinkedIn or outreach or follow-up or visibility, all of that, it can start to feel stiff really fast. You don't want to sound robotic, you don't want to sound thirsty, and you definitely don't want to sound like some copy and paste internet weirdo. So when I met today's guest, I paid attention because I signed up for his pro account wanting to learn LinkedIn more quickly so I could better support my $1 Million Lightworkers who are working cold leads. And what impressed me was not just the platform. It was him. He actually got on a call with me to get to know me and see how he could help me. And I thought, okay, now, who does that? I mean, who has time, right? Well, that told me something. And that told me this is not just somebody teaching tactics from a distance. This is somebody who understands relationship, somebody who understands how to make business feel human. And what makes this conversation even more interesting to me is that he's not just a businessman. He's also deeply spiritual, and that intersection always gets my attention. Because my people are not trying to build success by becoming more disconnected from themselves. No, they want strategy, which Joe's going to talk about, that feels like integrity. They want systems that still feel like service, and they want tools that support that connection, not replace it. So today we're going to talk to Joe Apfelbaum about LinkedIn, AI, networking, cold leads, trust, ambition, spirituality, and how to grow without selling your soul in the process. And Lightworker, let me just say, before we call him, you're not too old to learn a new platform. You're not too young to carry wisdom that deserves to be seen. We're not doing, I'm just bad at this today. We are doing willingness. We are doing skill building, grown woman expansion. So let's talk to Joe. Right on cue. Hey, Joe, how are you?
Good to see you. Thank you so much for tuning in.
I am so glad you are here today. And I've got to tell you, I was genuinely impressed by you when we connected. I mean, I came in wanting to understand LinkedIn better, mostly because I wanted to better support my people who are working cold leads. And I've lived most of my business life a warm lead land, if you know what I mean. So this was me stretching. And what really stood out to me was that when I signed up for your program, you actually took the time to get on a call with me. I mean, you took the time to get to know me and see how you could help. And I thought, okay, this man is not just teaching networking. He's actually living connection. So for everybody meeting you here for the first time, can you give us the quick version of who you are and who do you help?
Yeah, my name is Joe Apfelbaum. I'm the CEO of Evie AI. I've been running a digital marketing agency for almost 2 decades. And before that, my father really wanted me to be a rabbi. So I grew up Orthodox Jewish in Brooklyn, New York. I went to yeshiva growing up, and my father wanted me to be a rabbi. And so that's the path that I was on automatically. You know, like when your parents want you to do something, that's like the path that you're on. They send you to a certain school, you get a certain training. It's all you know. You're like a fish in water. After I became a rabbi, I realized that wasn't something that I wanted to do in my life. I wanted to be able to impact people deeply. I saw my mother struggle in her store in the Lower East Side in Manhattan. She was always trying to make money because my father was just into religious studies and he wasn't really making any money. And she wanted us to have all the good things in life. And they always struggled financially. After trying for 10 years, eventually she went out of business. And I always thought to myself, like, I want to help my mother. Like I want to make sure that she is successful. And so I was actually crying to her one day as a young teenager. And I told her, I said, Ma, like, dad wants me to be a rabbi and I'm going to go be a rabbi, do all that stuff. But I'm really struggling. I'm really struggling because I don't think I'm going to be able to make money and I want to have kids and I want to be able to pay the bills and I want to own a house and I want to do all the great things. And she told me to get in the car and she drove me to the Brooklyn Public Library. And she said, go in there and get all the books that you need to read to learn so that you can educate yourself. She said, if you get formal education, you go to college, you'll make a living. But if you educate yourself, if you get self-education, you'll be able to make a fortune. And I took it very seriously. I got books on computers. I started doing web design. I started fixing people's computers and I learned everything on my own. And I was able to build one of the fastest growing companies in America. We've serviced over 1,100 clients. We've done millions and millions of revenue every year for many, many years. And I can tell you that the key differentiator after thinking about it and publishing many books is that it's all about strategy. Your husband was showing me, you matter until you realize you're just energy, then you energy. Energy without strategy is a waste of time, they say, when it comes to being effective and having success. And the right strategy will save you a decade. And so I always tell people, figure out what you want to achieve. What is your business plan? What is your marketing plan? What is your LinkedIn plan? And then go off and achieve it, but have heart in what you do. Connect with people deeply. Realize that everything that you make in this world, you're not going to be able to take with you after 120. You're not going to be able to take all the money, the cars, the house that you own, your kids, even your spouse, you're not going to be able to take with you. But if you do well by other people, if you connect with other beautiful souls, if you build real relationships, if you live a life that you're truly proud of and you help other people, that's what you can take with you into your next lifetime, into your next experience. And so I always tell people, I was like, yeah, do business, make money, have the right strategy, but find your journey and make a difference for another. And so for me, in my journey, it's all about helping people be more strategic, live a better life, make more money. I help my clients be able to generate at least $100,000 in profit in their business. I've had a business, in the beginning of my business, I was doing $1 million, but there was no bottom line. It was very, very difficult. And then I had to figure out, how do you put $1 million in the bottom line? How do you really grow? How do you really impact? How do you really make a difference? And so that's where strategy comes in. And that's how I was able to generate many millions of dollars each year in revenue and be one of the fastest growing private companies in the US.
Wow, you answered so many of my questions right there. I mean, that's amazing. And now I have brand new questions. So what does your mom think now?
I just went to go visit my mom in Florida. I was invited to Billionaire Bunker to do a talk in Miami. I don't know if you know where that is. That's there was a house between Mark Zuckerberg's house and Jeff Bezos's house. The guy that sold Hotels.com. He invited 140 CEOs to talk about how do we give more charity? How do we get together and impact the world in a positive way? And so we put together 140 of the top Jewish CEOs in the world, and we all sat there and we had a conversation about giving back and impacting people and so on. And but the reason I went to Florida was not for that group. It's because when the rabbi asked me to come down to Florida to speak and to engage with the group and to inspire people, I said the only reason I'm going to come to Florida is to visit my mom. Give
Oh,
her a little massage to help her out. And my father told me, Ma was suffering because she's in her 70s. She has a little bit of arthritis. She's not in the best health. And he said, before you came, she was in her 70s, but when you showed up, she was a teenager. And my mother was hopping around, all excited that her son's coming. Da da da. And yeah, I gave her a massage. I helped her put her feet up. I gave her some apple cider vinegar. I encouraged her. I helped her with her diet. And at the end of the day, we need our people. We need the people in our life to love us, to hug us, to massage us, to connect with us. And what would my mom say to me right now? She would say, I love you.
oh, and that takes me right back to Carl's T-shirt, right? You matter in
Exactly.
your energy.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
beautiful. Well, she must be incredibly proud of you. And I love that she took you to the library.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
showed you how to, figure things out, right? She didn't just pay for you to go and do something. She helped you learn that you can figure out anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And the library today, I take my kids to AI. That's today's library. I teach my kids, I was like, listen, you want to learn? Talk to Grok, talk to Gemini, talk to ChatGPT. My marketing agency is probably not going to be around forever because AI is going to be able to replace all the knowledge workers. So what I did a couple of years ago is I started a new business. And because I know how to build businesses, instead of it taking me a decade to get 1,000 clients, It took me a year to get 1,000 clients. And because I understand how relationships work and how you get clients by building real, authentic relationships, not just fly by night transactions, but really getting to know people, putting the people first, figuring out what they want, adding 10 times more value than you're asking for in return. And that's really the idea. And so I built an AI assistant specifically for LinkedIn. And thank you for being a client that sits right on the side of your browser. It writes your posts, your comments, your messages, organizes your connections, researches all of them. I just had one of my best friends, Jeff Goldberg. He's a sales trainer. He's in his late 60s and he interviewed me. He's been teaching sales for over 50 years. He interviewed me. He said, "Joe, you know what I want you to do?" I said, "What?" He's like, "Many of my clients are afraid of cold calling. Can you get on LinkedIn Live and cold call for me? Just cold call. Do me a favor, just get on LinkedIn Live and cold call so that my audience can see how you are authentic and how you build relationships and how you book meetings without being a sleazy salesperson." And I showed him person after person. I did this on LinkedIn Live just before this call. I booked 3 meetings. One of them could be worth $1 million to my business. And I booked 3 meetings. And if you want to go watch it, you go on my LinkedIn profile and watch this. So you'll see what I'm saying is 100% accurate. And I literally just get on the phone with people. They don't even know who I am. Joe, they don't know who I am. They don't know who I am. I just get on the phone with them and it's all about them. And I build a relationship with them. And then I book a meeting with them. Isn't that interesting who they don't know who I am, but they're willing to take a meeting because I built such a deep relationship with them in like a 3-minute phone call?
You know, that is such a strong starting point of where I want to go because people often think they need more leads, right? But usually what they need is clarity, consistency, and strategy, which you're talking about. So I've got to ask this for me and also for my Million Dollar Lightworkers who are in my program, because I've built most of my life through warm relationships. I've never had to do any cold calling. So if somebody is powerful once they're in the room, but gets awkward the second they have to initiate with a stranger, what's the biggest shift they need to make?
Well, the number one shift that you need to make is ask yourself, why am I being awkward with this stranger? Like, what's going on? Not how can I change it? Because how can you change it is not going to change it. Because the more you try to change, the more you stay the same. So instead of trying to change it, you have to transform. So in order to transform, you got to figure out where are you right now? What's going on for you? And often it's because of your identity, your current identity. You're stuck in a very specific current identity that's locking you into feeling awkward because you feel like you need to be somewhere else, or you feel like you're not enough, or you feel like you need more information, or because you're thinking instead of being. There's a whole different world when you start experiencing another person versus trying to manipulate another person. When you're just there present, when you're just able to swing in the air, even though you're not a swinger, you're able to just connect. You're able to just build a real relationship with someone, which means just be in their presence, be in their grace, be in their energy, be in their field, and just be together with them. From that place, try to find a way to support each other. Try to find a way of mutual interest, but come from a place of being instead of a place of trying to do something, a place of scarcity, a place of there's not enough, a place I have to close a deal. None of that happens when I'm on the phone with someone. Of course, I have a script. Of course, I have an agenda. But for me, the first thing that I want to do is be with the person, get into the same place that they are. Some people call that rapport. So if you're not getting into rapport with the person, is because you're not transforming yourself and there's too much of your identity in the conversation. Someone said, "Joe, are you scared when you get up and speak in front of 140 top CEOs, many of them billionaires?" I said, I used to be very scared when I had a very strong identity and I had to be somebody or I worried about their opinion. But now my energy, my soul, my being, my consciousness leaves me and projects onto other people. And so when I'm on stage, I don't exist anymore. I'm being of service to other people. I am with the message. I am connecting with my emotion, with my gut, and I'm connecting with the people. And it's not about me anymore. I don't even exist anymore. My identity melted away. I didn't even mention my name. Like I said, if you can be anonymous on the train, would you have the courage as an anonymous person inside a suit, inside a mask, or through a microphone in a different country hidden where nobody knows who you are, where your voice gets changed to really be your authentic self? What would you look like if you were wearing a mask and your voice was changed and you can say anything and do anything? What animal would that be? What soul, what energy would that be? And that's how I want you to show up. I want you to show up in that way. And if you could show up in that way, you can be anything.
Wow, what a great exercise, right? I mean, to think of yourself in that way, that's so powerful. And I'm curious, did any of this come through your rabbi training? The whole idea of presence?
I think that we get taught that, but we don't execute on it, meaning it's all there. All the knowledge is there, but the experience isn't always there. Meaning, like to talk about the concept of Shekhinah, which is the godly presence, to talk about this idea of presence, of God's face looking at your face and you connecting deeply in meditation and all that stuff. If you don't experience, it's like I was telling somebody, explaining the sunset and experiencing the sunset are two very different things. All the information is available in religion and Judaism, and probably in every religion, it's probably very similar. But at the end of the day, if you yourself don't fall, you're never going to walk. If you yourself don't experience a sunset, you're never going to know what a real sunset is and the value of a sunrise or a sunset, or the smell of a flower, or the taste of a massage. And yes, I said the taste of a massage, because you can taste it if you're in it. And so the beauty of your five senses, of really connecting, of really being versus doing, is something that most human beings haven't experienced. There's a lot of people that are being too much and they're not doing it all and they're not experiencing financial success. And there are some people that are doing too much and they're experiencing financial success, but they're not experiencing fulfillment and deep connection. And so if you can find, I would say for the first 30 plus years of my life, I was busy doing, changing, strategy. And then I realized that I'm like a freight train about to smack into a wall. I need to lose 100 pounds. I need to stop smoking. I need to terminate any relationships in my life and change them and have integrity in them, and kind of shift the way I am with myself first. And then those relationships automatically melted away because I started vibrating at a different level.
Well, okay. And also you are known, when I ask the question in my peer group, my mastermind, who do I go to learn LinkedIn? It was your name, Evie AI. You got to use Evie AI and all the tools that Joe has created. And so to get back to practical things, if you had one of my light workers and she said, Joe, please give me a 12-step empire plan. Give me the real 15 minutes a day version. What would you tell her to do?
If you are a light worker, your objective is to shine your light. So at the end of the day, the only way that you shine your light is in conversation. That's how you shine your light. Now, there are very specific things that you need to do to get to the objective, to the end goal of conversation, and I'll walk you through all those things right now. But I want you to know, before you even get in there, the end of the rainbow, Oz, like the Wizard of Oz, to get to the Wizard of Oz, to be able to present in front of the Wizard of Oz, you need to be able to measure how many conversations you have and know how to have those conversations. So let's start from the beginning. The beginning has to do with the plan. So your step number one is, if you don't know where you're going, you might get somewhere else. Before you start off on your car, if you want your Tesla to drive you somewhere, you got to tell the Tesla, what is the directions and where do you want to go? And then often that'll shape the route that you're going to take. So maybe you want to pay tolls. Maybe you want to take the scenic route. Maybe you want to take the shortcut. Maybe you want to take the part where you stop off and get breakfast first. Maybe you first want to go network and build some relationships or give some charity on the way. Your plan will dictate, your business plan will dictate how much money you want to make, how many clients you want, what type of clients you have, all that jazz. Then you need to do your marketing plan. So you're still in the plan phase, which is you have to decide how many leads you need, what type of leads, how do you qualify the leads, all that stuff goes into marketing. What your budget is like, all that stuff. And then you need to figure out your specific LinkedIn plan, which is what are the specific activities that you're going to do on a daily basis? What type of support are you going to get? And we have an entire framework as part of our evergreen networking system where we teach people how to network properly, but it starts with the plan. Okay, so that's step number one, is the plan. Within step number one, there's a few steps, but we'll just say step number one is the plan, just to keep it simple. Step number two is the people. Once you have the plan in place, you need to have the people. Most people don't realize that they're talking to people. They think they're talking to businesses. They think they're talking to problems. They think they're talking to transactions. But really, we're all talking to people. So who are the people? And some people are like, oh, I want to talk to Google. I was like, you talk to Google all you want now. You can talk to Gemini, but that's not a person you're going to sell something to. or that you're going to offer to create a transformation for, or that you're going to be able to shine your light on. You're not shining your light in AI. You're shining your light to another human being. So what is that person? So there's psychographics, there's demographics, there's geographics, there's firmographics. There's a lot of ways to describe the person that you're looking to do business with. I call it an ideal client. Some people call it an ICP. I just call it ideal client. So you need to know who your ideal client is, but you also need to know who your centers of influence are. Who are the people that are going to refer business to you? So those are the two types of people that you need. And the third person is who are your community members? Who are the people that are going to engage and promote your content? So if you know who your people are, you have your plan, and then you have your people. So those are the first two P's in the pie. Okay, the third P is the promise. People do things because of a promise. If I'm getting on your podcast, you know that if I promise you that I'm going to be amazing on your podcast, the only reason you're going to have me on your podcast is because you believe my promise. And I come through on my promise just in the first few minutes. I'm already coming through on my promise. I'm totally shaking and baking with my 3 Ps. I got the plan, the people, the promise. So how do you create a promise that's so succulent that the people, both the centers of influence and the ideal clients and your community members, will want to be engaged with you in the way that you need them to be engaged with you? So we take people through a very specific process. We have AI help you create the pains, the goals, the dreams, the fears, the questions, the statements, the stats. We basically go through all the different things that go into a promise. And if you understand how to create the perfect promise in a way that's actionable and measurable, you're going to get people to be motivated. It's also based on the $100 million offers methodology. If you didn't read the book, $100 million offers. I have a 90-minute class on YouTube. You can type in Joe Apfelbaum, $100 million offers on Google. You'll find it in a second. And you'll watch that video. You understand $100 million offers. So that's number 3. Okay, so so far we got the plan, we got the people, we got the promise. Now, most people start getting into features then. Like, okay, I got my offer now because now I understand my promise, so I have my offer. But now that I have my offer, here are the features to my offer. But nobody wants features. Features sell. How do you feel when you get sold to? You feel icky. You don't feel like you're shining light. You feel like you're shining something else other than light, darkness, right? And so what I want people to realize is that stories sell. Stories sell. Stories create transformations. I told you a story about my mother in the Lower East Side. That's a transformative story. I have so many little stories like that. For example, Tina came to me. She's like, I don't have any stories. I'm not special. And I said, Tina, you are so special. There are stories about you. There are stories about your childhood. There are stories about your clients. There are stories that you made up. There's so many stories. Give me some stories. There's many different ways to tell stories. And we have a whole framework in our course that teaches you the step-by-step process to tell a story. But just to keep it short, there's a character, a desire, and a conflict. Okay, that's what goes into a story. There's who the person is. It could be a client. It could be you. It could be your mother. It could be whoever. There's a desire, something that you wanted, and a conflict, you couldn't get it. And then ultimately what happened? If you tell someone a story of transformation, it's much more powerful than me telling you I can transform you when I tell you I just transformed a client, right?
Right.
And so there's so many different types of stories that you can tell people that will help them understand that you're the expert, to be able to get you credibility, to be able to get you authority, to be able to build an emotional connection with your audience. So stories are really important. So that's part of the assets that you need to build. You need to build stories. Whereas the bottom is the foundation, your strategy is your plan, your people, your promise. In terms of your assets, number 1 is stories. Number 2, the second thing that you need on the second stage, which is really number 5, is presence. You need to have a presence. Most people don't have a clear identity online. If I Google you online, I might not find all the different things that I need to find in order to really show that you're a light worker. Okay, if I Google you, Google yourself. If I put you in ChatGPT, what did it find? If I put you in Perplexity, what did it find? Do you have a YouTube channel? Do you have a Facebook? Do you have an Instagram? Do you have a LinkedIn? Do you have a newsletter? Do you have multiple websites? Do you have blogs? Do you have Medium? Do you have Substack? Do you have Twitter? Do you have TikTok? You don't have those things, you don't have a presence. Start with your LinkedIn profile. If I look at most people's LinkedIn profile, they don't have a great banner. They don't have a great photo. They don't have a great headline. They don't have a great about section. They don't have a great experience section. They don't have recommendations. So we have a 22-point checklist of how to improve your LinkedIn profile so that it gets picked up by LLMs. But more importantly, so you have presence. A beautiful presence means a beautiful light. And a beautiful light can have a lot of might. And you'll be able to see that you really don't bite unless you ask me to bite. Then I'll nibble or I dribble. Okay, so there we go. So that's the presence component. So that's the second component in building. And then the third component is making sure that you have the right technology. Technology is everything. You need to have the right technology that will get you data. You need to have the right technology that will save you time. You need to have the right technology that will help you with agents and automation and research and everything that you need in place. EVI is one of those technologies, but there are many other technologies. Like, for example, Zoom. We're on Zoom right now. We're talking on Zoom through our phones, right? And so for us, being able to build a relationship, you have to understand how the technology works and you have to use the technology. And we offer tech support to our clients every day, twice a day. We sit with you. We have clients in their 60s, 70s, and 80s that don't really understand how to use technology very well. And we patiently show them step by step how to use the technologies so that they can promote their presence, so that they can tell their stories, so that they can share their promise to the right people so that they can achieve their plan. Okay, so those are the first 6 steps. And then there's 3 action steps. I call it booming. Why booming? Because booming is a noise, and noise is action, and noise creates emotion. I'm making noise right now through my phone to you, from my phone directly into your phone. I'm making noise, and you're liking the noise. You're smiling when I make the noise. There are 3 types of things that you need to do when you're making noise. 3 types of things. Number 1 is you need exposure. You need exposure. You need exposure every day. Every day you need exposure, not the type of exposure that will get you arrested. You need exposure that will get you connected, people will want to see you, will want to connect with you, will remember. I call it tomato. You know what tomato is? Tomato, most people think tomato is a vegetable. I say tomato, knowing that tomato is a fruit is knowledge. Not putting it in fruit salad, well, that is wisdom. Okay, so tomato is a powerful thing because it stands for top of mind awareness transforming opportunity. If you're not top of mind with someone, no matter how great you are, no matter how much you impacted them in the past, if you're not creating that awareness, they're not going to remember. And so if I look and you haven't posted today, you're not top of mind. If you haven't posted, I mean, I was in the bath this morning. I took a 20-minute bath. I had a cup of Epsom salt and a cup of baking soda in there to be able to remove my heavy metals with some warm water. And then I went and I created a TikTok while I was in the bath. I have a channel called LinkedIn Daddy. I committed to doing a TikTok 44 times in the next 30 days. And I'm putting a TikTok up, and I'm in the bath, and I do a TikTok, and I post it. And guess what? People saw it. People liked it. People commented. 100 people saw it. So I had 100 people with me in the bath today. Amazing. I had exposure. On LinkedIn, you get professionals. I'm not going to be in the bath on LinkedIn. On TikTok, I could be in the bath. But on LinkedIn, I'm going to be sitting in my chair. I'm going to have a logo on my shirt. I'm going to have a nice background. I'm going to have a good microphone. I'm going to have a good headset. And I'm going to be able to show up like a professional. And I show up every single day. If you're on LinkedIn, you'll see me every single day. I show up 7 days a week. I posted 10,000 times in the past decade. And people notice me. And it generates millions of dollars in revenue. So that's number 1, top of mind, awareness. Number 2, credibility. Most people don't leave any comments. If you want to be successful on LinkedIn or any platform, start leaving comments. It'll get you credibility. Getting comments is by getting community will get credibility as well. So getting likes and getting comments, understanding how to do that will get you credibility as well. The credibility is in the comments. That's what I say. When I look at somebody and their posts are completely no comments, no likes, they have no credibility. But if I see someone, they have dozens of comments, dozens of likes, I think they have credibility. And if I see them leaving comments, I give them credibility as well because they have the confidence to leave comments. That's powerful. And they build those relationships. And even with the author, you gain credibility. If I see your post on LinkedIn and I left you a comment, I'm the only one that commented, I now have credibility with you because I did something for you. That's powerful. And then the third component is conversations. In order to get conversations on LinkedIn, you need the greeting, feeding, and meeting method. This is something that I teach to all my clients. Instead of selling, instead of pitching, instead of spraying and praying, instead of posting and ghosting, instead what you need to do, you need to be greeting, feeding, and then meeting. And if you do this correctly and you have the right lists and you're organized and you can do research and you have the right technology, you're going to be able to go from a lurker to an influencer in just 15 minutes a day.
Wow. There you have it. I mean, that's it right there. That is so amazing. I'm speechless, literally. I mean, that's so
thank
cool.
you.
And I love how you use the acronyms so they're memorable. And I know, being on EVI now and in Evergreen in your systems, I see all of this stuff. And it is pretty amazing the amount of education that you put out there for people. And I know some people are probably listening to this going, Joe, I'm just building my website. Like, how am I going to do all of this myself? And, my answer is always one step at a time. Just start doing. It's better to take baby steps forward than to do nothing at all.
And not only that, I tell people if you're telling me you're building your website right now, that's great. Build your website, but have 5 conversations a day while you have no website. If you go
Yeah.
watch my live on my profile, you'll notice, or on my YouTube channel, or my X, or my Facebook, or wherever you find my live, and you see me calling people and speaking to people, which I do just to inspire people. I don't need to do it. I have enough warm relationships that I could just call people that I know me, like me, and trust me. But the reason I call strangers is just to inspire you, to show you that people don't care who you are. They don't even need to know who you are. They just want to build a relationship with who you are. They don't need to know who you are. They want to build a relationship with who you are. And so when you start building a relationship, you don't even share your name. You don't even share what you do. Just get to know them, see what their problem is, see how you can add value to them, and people are receptive to that. That's such a powerful shift in thinking where, oh, I have to build a website. They have to know who I am. They have to read. No one's reading anything anymore. You know how much things there is to read? People want to experience. They're sick of reading BS. They're sick of reading chat GPT paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs. Only you're going to read about yourself. What people instead are going to do, they want to build a relationship with you. And when you have the relationship and the trust is there, then people start reading. You know, before I read an email, if I get an email, even if it's one sentence, before I read the email, I check who sent it to me. You know that? I don't just read emails. I first see who sent me this email. And most of the time, I don't even open the email if I don't know who it is.
Yeah. It's the same with phone calls, right?
Yeah.
If you don't know who they are, you're not picking up. So let me ask you about you. What are you most proud of?
My 5 children, no doubt. My 5 children, the courage I had to get divorced in a relationship that wasn't authentic, the courage that I had to overcome my fear of public speaking, the courage that I had to overcome all the different fears that I had about networking, about writing books, about putting myself out there, and the hunger. I'm proud of my hunger to keep growing, to keep learning, to not stop, to work my butt off, to keep inspiring, to travel the world, to make a difference for people, and to just keep living my best freaking life, my best life.
And it shows, it really shows. So what part of we talked a little bit about spirituality when we first met, Joe. What part of your spiritual formation most shaped the way that you handle that ambition?
Well, I think for me, it's become about being present more than anything else. Because, if we live in the past, we're living in some random story. And if we live in the future, we're trying to predict the future. It's more about the ego than anything else. So if you really want to connect with your essence, realize that your essence is timeless. That's what it means to me. Now, can we measure it? No, you can't measure it. Can we somehow change it or optimize it or make it better or whatever it is? In the world of presence, for me, there is no better, there is no worse, there is no right, there is no wrong, there is no measuring. Instead, there's being, there's experiencing, there's connecting. And so the more I can be in that world, while at the same time balance actually having strategy and actually having a plan and actually measuring something else that's tangible, combining actual time and people and logistics with taking the time to also be present within that, is kind of like the yin and the yang for me, and that's a spiritual component.
Mm. So did you ever have to heal your relationship with, say, money or success or even just visibility? Or have you always been able to be visible like this?
I think that I had to, when it comes to money, I don't think I had to fix my relationship with money so much. I was always the type of person that always invested. I was always the type of person that says, I don't save money, I invest money. You know what I mean? I never had that attitude. I always had the attitude I'm investing. So in terms of signing up to programs, I'm the first person to raise my hand. In terms of investing in coaches, consultants, books, I mean, I think I got that from my mom as well, because my mom was always like, buy that computer, invest in that business, buy the real estate. She always pushed me. I bought a 3-family brownstone when I was 24 years old. It's worth close to $3 million now in Brooklyn. I gave it to my
Wow.
ex when we got divorced, and I'm very proud of that because now she's set for life because she has that brownstone. She never has to work again. If she doesn't want to, she'll just could live off that brownstone. So for me, like being able to like make investments like that, it was very scary to spend $570,000 on a brownstone and not being sure if you can pay the mortgage, because I wasn't sure that I could pay the mortgage. I had to rent out the top 2 floors and live in the ground apartment in order for me to be able to afford the mortgage, let alone know if I could afford it. Or so I had to push myself and I had to invest. A lot of the times I tell people, if you can't afford a coaching program, that's the best time to invest in the coaching program. Because if you could
Absolutely.
afford it, then you might not have the time to do it. But if you can't afford it, and push yourself. Get out of your comfort zone, invest in it, and make it work for you. Own your own experience. So I spent tens of thousands of dollars in masterminds and coaching programs and cruises and events and things that help me be able to find people and connect with people, because the more you put in, the more you get out of life in general. And so I find that to be very, very impactful and very, very powerful. And then so for me, I did have to heal my relationship with my identity, in terms of, like, I was afraid of putting my photo on social media. I was afraid of professional speaking. I didn't like the sound of my voice. Like, if I heard my voice, I hated the sound. Now people tease me. They're like, Joe, you love hearing yourself talk. But I do. The truth is, I do. I do love my voice. I do love myself. I look in the mirror. I'm like, dude, handsome devil, handsome guy. You're an angel. You're beautiful. I talk to myself beautifully. Whereas maybe 20 years ago, I said, you're an idiot. You're ugly. You're fat. You're like all the things I would say to myself. But now I honor myself. I am so beautiful. I am so hot. I'm so incredibly talented. And that doesn't come from ego. That comes from a place of me just recognizing the beauty within me, the godliness within me, the grace within me, the universe within me. And so if you can recognize that grace within you, you can heal the voices in your head that were not even your voices.
Yeah, so important. I agree 100%. And in this world of personal brand content, AI, visibility, all the things, what have you learned about the difference between being memorable and being trustworthy?
Being memorable is for people to remember that you exist. There's plenty of people that are very memorable, but people don't trust those people. I can give you many examples that sound like, Bernie Madoff, for example. Very memorable. People are never going to forget Bernie Madoff, but I don't think anybody's ever going to trust anyone associated with Bernie Madoff. Just because you're memorable doesn't mean you're trustworthy. Now, there are plenty of people that you trust that you forget about. So what your job is as a professional, whether you're a coach, a consultant, a life worker, a light worker, anything that you consider yourself, what you need to do is, if you're working with people, if you're doing services, it is your responsibility to train people on how to think about you regularly. And it's your responsibility to show up trustworthy. And if you can show up trustworthy by adding value first, by asking for help. I don't know if you know this, but asking somebody for help is one of the ways that you build trust and one of the ways that you stay top of mind. I often will ask people for help. I'll stop somebody on the street. I say, excuse me, sir, excuse me. He's like, well, can you help me? Of course I can help you. Right? I stop people at events that I go to and I ask them for help because I want them to trust me. It's a method of getting trust, and it's a method of breaking the ice and building relationship. It's a powerful way to get someone to trust you. People want to help. People want to be trusted. There's a lot of things I learned about my mother to do, and there are some things I learned about my mother not to do. One of the things that I learned from my mother not to do is, when my mother goes to a restaurant with someone, she never lets anybody pay. She'll go hide quickly and run and go to the waiter fast and pay and then sit down and feel all proud of herself. And what I learned is that if somebody wants to be honored with buying me a $15 breakfast, I'm going to honor them and let them do it and not fight, especially if they insist. I'll always pull my credit card out first and be like, I got this, it's on me. But if they're like, no, I insist, Joe, please allow me to. And I'll be like, oh, okay. When I take you out to a steak dinner, then I'm paying. Agree? And they're like, yes. And then boom. But do you get what I'm saying? So
I
like,
do.
me being able to receive, me being able to ask for help. My mother doesn't want to ask anybody for help. And that's part of the problem, because I will go to a coach and I'll be like, I need help. I'll often tell my assistant, I need help. I need help. Being able to say I need help is so vulnerable and so powerful. And most people are not willing to confess to the fact that you need help. Even God needs help. He needs our blessing. He needs our presence. He needs our kindness, right? So let's help. Let's help each other, and let's ask for what we need.
That is such a beautiful place to land. I love that. Okay, are you ready for our microwave moments?
Let's do the microwave moments.
Okay, I'm going to say a word. You give me the first truth that rises up for you. When I say integrity, you say?
Keep your word.
When I say money, you say?
Yes, please.
When I say impact, you say?
How deep?
When I say alignment, you say?
Only alignment.
And finally, when I say visibility, what has to stay true so it doesn't turn into performance?
Authenticity.
Oh, that is beautiful. That is so sharp, so clean, and so honest, and so you, Joe. I mean, that's really wonderful. This has been such a great conversation, Joe. I love that you gave us practical strategy today because I know my people are looking for that. They need real language, real structure. I like the way that you teach with, all of the P's and easy, memorable things to be able to put those things into action, and real ways to think about visibility, outreach, connection, and of course, so important, right? Trust. But I also really appreciate that we got underneath the surface a little bit too, because this is bigger than LinkedIn, right? This is about how to build relationships with integrity, how to use tools without losing your humanity, and how to pursue growth without disconnecting from your values. And I personally think that that matters so much. So thank you, Joe, for being generous with your wisdom and your perspective. And I'm really glad we got to do this.
Thank you for swinging with me.
And before we go, Joe, is there anything that you'd like to tell our listeners about how to connect with you and how to be part of your community and all the wonderful things that you offer?
I always tell people that the secret to living is giving. So let me know what I can do to add value to your life. I wrote a book called High Energy Networking. Feel free to find it on Amazon or go to highenergynetworking.com to read about my book. If you want to get to know somebody, read their life's work. And I published 5 books. I'm about to publish my 6th now. And what I want to tell people, if you want to get in touch, if you want a demo of Evie AI, you can just send the word demo to 973-841-8868. That's 973-841-8868. Send the word demo, and you will get a reply with a demonstration video of Evie AI. And if you want to get in touch with me, just go to joelinkedin.com. That's Joe, LinkedIn.com. It'll take you straight to my LinkedIn profile. And then you'll see WhatsApp right under my logo, where you could just send me a WhatsApp. Even if you're international or anywhere else, you could send me a message or you can call my cell and let me know that you heard this podcast. Be brave enough to send me a little WhatsApp message that says, Joe, I watched the podcast and this is what I love most about it. Even if you don't need my services, even if you are not interested in connecting with me deeply, let me know what you heard here. That would make my life better. So thank you.
And that is Joe in action. He just practiced what he preached, and I love that so well. Well, we've got to do this again, Joe. This is too much fun.
Too much fun. I love it. And I'd love to talk to you next time we speak about AI research, how to research people before you talk to them. I'd love to talk to you about the connections dashboard, how to recognize, strategize, prioritize, and organize your connections in a meaningful way. And I'd like to also just in general talk about the power of using LinkedIn as a evergreen database, meaning if people leave one job and they go to another job, how to stay in touch with them when their cell phone and email changes. Like that's the power. I want to talk about all the different things related to going deeper into the world of LinkedIn. We talked more about, just in general strategy and stuff like that, but I want to get a little more tactical into the world of the connections dashboard, LinkedIn, research, and all that stuff. So if you'd have me again, I'd love to swing around a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. I will definitely have you on soon because I think that those are really timely conversations for us to be having.
Awesome.
All right. Well, take care. Have a wonderful weekend, and let's talk again soon.
Thanks for calling me.
All right. Bye-bye, Joe. Wow. Okay, Lightworker. That was good. And here's what I hope you really take from this conversation. Learning how to work cold leads does not mean becoming cold, and that's the lesson. You don't have to become pushy. You certainly don't have to become robotic, and you don't have to turn yourself into some hyper-performative internet machine just to get visible. But you do need skill, and you need a rhythm, and you need courage, and as Joe said, you need presence, right? You need to be willing to practice connection before it actually feels natural, especially if, like me, you've built most of your life through warm relationships. Or maybe you're sitting on your sofa talking about connections. You know who you are. There's nothing wrong with you if outreach feels stretchy. There's nothing wrong with you if LinkedIn has felt awkward. And there's certainly nothing wrong with you if you've been brilliant in private, but under-practiced in public. It's all learnable. And that's why spaces like Million Dollar Lightworker matter so much, because inside MDL, we're not just talking about mindset in the abstract. We're building the actual business. Messaging, visibility, offers, sales, identity, capacity. It's the practical and the energetic, the strategy and the self-trust, all of it. So if you're ready to become the kind of woman who can carry more visibility, more impact, and more income without losing herself in the process, come join us inside the Million Dollar Lightworker. And if you're not quite ready for that level yet, come into Conscious Creators Circle. Get in the room, get around the frequency, start strengthening that muscle, because you're not too old to learn a new strategy and you are never too young to hold real wisdom. And your work deserves to be seen by people who are looking for it right now. I'll see you in the next episode, Lightworker.